Hello and welcome to Straight Talk. I'm Ayşe Süberker. Washington saw a flurry of diplomatic activity this week following visits by Turkey's Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan and Intelligence Chief Ibrahim Kalin. Topping Fidan's agenda during his meeting with U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken was Israel's ongoing assault on Gaza, the war in Ukraine, and the long-stalled deal to send F-16 jets to Turkey. Fidan attended a series of meetings under the Turkiye-US Strategic Mechanism, a platform set up more than 2 years ago to address issues the two countries disagreed on and where they could work together. During his meeting with Blinken, Fidan again stressed the need to protect civilians in Gaza, which continues to see mounting deaths from Israeli strikes. In his State of the Union speech on Thursday, President Joe Biden said U.S. forces would build a temporary dock in Gaza to allow for the delivery of humanitarian aid. Fidan's visit to the U.S. comes as Sweden officially joined NATO, which cleared one of the last hurdles for Congress to approve the sale of dozens of F-16s to Turkey. And for more on the Turkish Foreign Minister's visit to the U.S., joining me now from Washington, D.C. is Sean Michael Cox. He is a senior advisor at Global Policy Institute. And from Ankara, Giray Sadık, he is the director of the European Studies Research Center at Yıldırım Bayezid University. Gentlemen, welcome to Straight Talk. It's good to have you on the program. Sean, Turkey's top diplomat Hakan Fidan and intelligence chief Ibrahim Kalin visited Washington to hold talks on a range of issues. So the question is there any significance to the timing of these two Turkish officials' U.S. visit, which almost came simultaneously? I mean, is there any correlation between them?
I think this is just part of the planned meetings that have really taken off since the January 6th visit of Antony Blinken to Turkey. This so-called strategic realignment, strategic mechanism that is put in place, they're trying to build up momentum to work out, to hash out the problems, the issues that both of these countries have been having with one another. So it's just a further step in the process. It is somewhat coincidental that that these meetings are occurring at the same time, but it also shows a sign of desire on both parties to get these issues settled so that they can move forward, especially on the part of the United States, which the Biden administration is looking to score some foreign policy points in an election year to show that the United States can still be a leader abroad, to contrast its position with that of the previous Trump administration and the Trump campaign in the upcoming election. So the Biden administration is going to be looking to assert itself in terms of its foreign policy presence, and having these meetings collectively, having these meetings as efficiently as possible as the campaign season ramps up is a very good plan.
So, Giray, what do you think? Have the two-country relations entered a new phase after the U.S. agreed to deliver its F-16 fighter jets to Ankara following Turkey's approval of Sweden's NATO membership? I mean, how does it look like to you?
I think it's a positive step, and it's a step forward, and it's a clear indication that those two high-level visits of Minister Hakan Fidan and Intelligence Chief Ibrahim Kalin visiting back-to-back. So I think it is all related with that momentum. On American side, we are on the same page with Sean. And on Turkish side, there are things of a win-win for two allies to ramp up their cooperation politically, militarily, and economically.
So, but Sean, the question is, what does U.S. President Joe Biden stand to gain to further improve its relations with Turkey just before the elections?
It shows that the United States can still be a player internationally. During the Trump administration, the United States took a big hit in terms of its international reputation as the Trump administration adopted an American first, somewhat isolationist policy. Joe Biden has spent the last several years trying to build back up the United States' reputation. And for a variety of circumstances, he's found himself in a world where there are a number of crises that the United States could potentially resolve. And particularly with an eye towards the election, showing that we can take some of these issues off the list, that we can build relations with a key player in the Middle East and the Eastern Mediterranean that can help us address issues related to Gaza or to the war in Ukraine or a number of other crises, particularly how it impacts NATO, looks good for the Biden administration and, more importantly, for the Biden campaign.
So, U.S. President Joe Biden has just said his country is planning to build an offshore dock to boost the emergency needs of Gazan people. Is this a significant turn in U.S. policies towards the besieged enclave?
Rhetorically, that sounds significant. That sounds U.S. have started to realize and take some steps for the urgently needed humanitarian aid. But that remains to be seen how it will be enacted in practice and how quickly Biden administration will act upon that. After all, actions speak louder than words, and to what extent that dock can be used truly for humanitarian purposes, which people of the Gaza need immediately. Along with that, American role in the necessary and UN called by UN chief as well ceasefire will be also important, because we know that without ceasefire also the delivery of humanitarian aid has been at risk, and humanitarian aid convoys have already been attacked as well. Therefore, this is a step in the right direction, but not a final one. We will see how Biden administration will act upon that. So far, it looks like they are talking the talk in the right direction. It's a step forward. We must acknowledge that. Let's see if they are walking the walk and if they are doing it timely.
So, Sean, the U.S. and Turkey are also very much aligned when it comes to the war in Ukraine. And Ukrainian President Zelensky met with Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan on Friday, where they discussed the ongoing war, especially the scrap grain deal. So how can the U.S. and Turkey work together when it comes to the war in Ukraine?
One of the key sticking points between the United States and Turkey with the war in Ukraine is the relationship that Turkey has with Russia. Turkey is a regional power. They're influential in Eastern Europe, in the Black Sea area. They serve as a conduit between Russia and many other countries, and Ukraine and many other countries. And the United States has taken issue with the relationship that Turkey has with Russia. One of the key things is for the United States to figure out how its NATO partner, Turkey, can help Turkey respond more forcefully to Russian aggression in Ukraine in a way that is satisfactory to the United States, is to find out if the United States can influence Turkey in some way to take a harder stance against Russia.
So, Güray, having revived the almost stalled strategic partnership mechanism set up 2 years ago, are the two-country relations set to expand not only to boost defense and security, but others as well?
Most likely, especially right after Kalin, the Minister of Finance visits, alludes to that, because early on, when we look to expected agenda of Kalin, it is mostly counterterrorism related and security related, mainly speaking, whereas the portfolio of Minister Fidan is way broader, including not only his connections and his talks with Secretary of State Blinken and others, but also with DC think tanks and broader community. That shows an ambition and mutual potential to expand on political and economic issues, Turkish-US energy cooperation and defense industry cooperation. Again, they are all on board and need to be considered comprehensively.
So, Sean, although there hasn't been any official statement released on the Cullen-Burns meeting, but what do you think the two intel chiefs discussed?
It's likely that the discussions between the intelligence chiefs will relate to activities in Syria, activities in Iraq, and probably to a lesser extent what is happening in both Gaza and with Russia. The focus, obviously, with intelligence communities is assisting in maintaining the security of each of these countries, and likely it is the Syrian and Iraqi issues that will take the high point in these conversations, and the contrast in the U.S. position and the position of Turkey.
All right, gentlemen, unfortunately, we'll have to leave it here. Thank you very much for joining me on Straight Talk.